the groundwork for its confrontation with Rome. When Carthage faced Rome directly, it didn't just field armies, it unleashed its economic strategy. One key tactic was controlling key trade routes. By monopolizing resources like grain from North Africa and metals from Spain, Carthage could influence prices, starve enemies of supplies, and incentivize allies. Their navy wasn't just a war fleet, it protected commerce, enforced trade dominance, and even disrupted Roman supply lines. Carthage turned commerce itself into warfare, proving that money could be a more precise weapon than a sword. Another strategy was financing alliances. Carthage invested in mercenary armies, often paid directly from trade profits. Instead of relying on citizen armies like Rome, Carthage's finances allowed it to field highly specialized soldiers across multiple theaters of war without draining its core economy. This financial flexibility forced Rome into protracted conflicts, buying Carthage time to strengthen its economic and military positions simultaneously. Challenges remained immense. Carthage's dependence on trade meant that blockades, piracy, or market collapse could cripple its power. But Carthaginian leaders tackled these issues with sophisticated risk management. They diversified trade routes, built fortified trading posts, and created emergency stockpiles of critical commodities. Every economic challenge became an opportunity to innovate, proving that resilience itself was a product of financial intelligence. Carthage's economic power was not limited to its city walls. To dominate trade, it established colonies across the Mediterranean, from Sicily to Spain to North Africa's coast. Each colony functioned as a financial outpost. They collected local resources, facilitated trade, and sent profits back to Carthage. Colonies were not merely political expansions, they were investments with high returns, almost like ancient branch offices of a multinational corporation. Merchants and financiers from Carthage meticulously analyzed risks. They studied market demands, local production capabilities, and regional competitors. By using trade agreements and protective tariffs, Carthage ensured that profits from these colonies flowed steadily into its treasury. These funds allowed the city to finance armies, fortify infrastructure, and even lend credit to allied city-states, expanding its influence without direct conquest. The challenge was maintaining control over far-flung networks. Rebellions, piracy, and competition from Greek city-states threatened stability. Carthage responded with naval enforcement, trade policing, and incentive-based governance, creating loyalty among colonies while safeguarding economic returns. This growth strategy was a financial expansion plan, making wealth the engine of empire. Carthage's economic sophistication was unmatched. It developed standardized coinage, which simplified trade across regions, built trust, and reduced transaction costs. Merchants could settle deals confidently because Carthaginian coins carried guaranteed value. Beyond coins, Carthage implemented early credit systems, allowing traders to borrow against future profits, finance expeditions, and invest in risky ventures. This financial innovation created leverage. Carthage could fund armies or ships without draining its immediate reserves. It also encouraged private merchants to invest, knowing that the city-state provided security and support. Rome, initially slower to adopt similar financial instruments, found itself at a disadvantage. Carthage's ability to mobilize wealth rapidly gave it both flexibility and resilience in times of crisis. Challenges included inflation, fraud, and fluctuating commodity prices. Carthage tackled these with regulation, oversight, and trade monitoring, essentially building a proto-central bank. Money management, not just accumulation, allowed Carthage to convert financial foresight into geopolitical advantage. Carthage didn't rely solely on armies to fight Rome, it fought with markets. By controlling crucial grain supplies from North Africa, metals from Spain, and trade routes through Sicily, Carthage could create scarcity, raise prices, and exert pressure on Rome's allies. The city-state effectively weaponized supply and demand, demonstrating that financial tools could achieve military objectives indirectly. Carthage also financed mercenary armies using wealth derived from trade, ensuring highly trained forces without burdening citizens. The strategy was clear: weaken Rome's resources, protect Carthaginian trade, and maintain economic superiority. Even when Roman armies advanced, Carthage's wealth allowed it to rebuild, supply, and innovate faster than opponents could respond. No empire is without setbacks, and Carthage faced many naval losses, trade disruptions, and political instability. But its financial system allowed for rapid recovery. Emergency stockpiles, diversified trade routes, and credit reserves ensured that Carthage could weather short-term shocks. For example, when piracy disrupted Mediterranean trade, Carthage rerouted shipments, offered incentives for safe passage, and even engaged in strategic diplomacy with pirate factions. This resilience reinforced the idea that economic planning can mitigate risks in ways armies cannot. Carthage's financial intelligence became as critical as its military strategy, teaching a lesson still relevant in modern economics: preparation and diversification protect wealth and influence. Carthage invested in technological innovation to maintain its economic edge. Ships were designed for speed and cargo capacity, ports were expanded for efficiency, and storage systems improved to preserve resources. These innovations reduced costs, increased trade volume, and ensured dominance over slower, less organized competitors. By treating logistics as a form of finance, Carthage maximized the return on every expedition. Profits weren't accidental, they were engineered. Innovation, when paired with financial strategy, becomes a force multiplier for empire building. Carthage's wealth allowed it to influence other states through diplomatic investments. Treaties, trade agreements, and even bribes were forms of strategic spending. By lending money, offering trade privileges, and supporting allies financially, Carthage extended its influence without the need for direct conquest. Rome, reliant on military coercion, often faced situations where Carthage's financial diplomacy undermined Roman objectives. Wealth allows negotiation, flexibility, and long-term influence, sometimes more effectively than armies ever could. The Punic Wars highlighted the ultimate clash between Carthage's financial power and Rome's military-driven expansion. Carthage's economic strategies, trade control, mercenary financing, credit leverage, and supply manipulation posed a real challenge to Rome's growing empire. While Rome eventually prevailed militarily, Carthage's example shows how finance can extend influence, fund innovation, and compete with even the largest powers. Strategic use of wealth amplifies power, mitigates risk, and can challenge seemingly unbeatable forces. Carthage may have fallen on the battlefield, but its economic lessons endured. History remembers that wealth is not just currency, it is strategy, resilience, and influence. Carthage demonstrates that cities and nations can rise not only through conquest but through financial intelligence, trade mastery, and innovation. For modern viewers, the message is inspiring. Economic foresight, diversified investments, and strategic use of resources are timeless tools. Carthage turned money into power, and while armies may conquer lands, financial mastery conquers systems, markets, and influence itself. In the story of Carthage, finance was not secondary, it was the first weapon, the most enduring legacy, and the ultimate lesson for empires and entrepreneurs alike.